granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. It all started with this. Hadush Kebatu is jailed for 12 months for sexually assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl in Epping. So he's a so-called asylum seeker. He's living in an asylum seekers hotel, or rather he's living in the Bell Hotel, which was a hotel until it was taken over by the Home Office. It turns out not strictly legally to be used for housing people such as him. Now, I have made the point before. The sort of people who are illegal migrants have trekked across probably Africa or Asia, have gone through various countries, through various points, have elbowed their way onto these dinghies after they got to France and got up through France, of course, remember. And then they got on these dinghies and fetched up on the shores of this kingdom. They're obviously not going to be the most shrinking violet of the world's population. In fact, they're most likely to be the most violent, the most criminal, and the least bothered about rules. Obviously, it's a self-selecting population. And he's one of them. And no sooner had he got to Britain than he decided British women were going to be fair game. And he has been jailed for 12 months. It says here, it said somewhere, here we are. It says he was made the subject of a 5-year sexual harm prevention order, which bans him from contacting any female not already known to him. He will be added to the sex offenders register for 10 years. Right, that's great. That means that this illegal migrant who got here by, well, I would say fair means or foul, but it's more likely to be foul. He got here by questionable methods, is now being kept in prison for 12 months. Prison costs more than the posh boarding school Eton. And after that, he's on a register for 10 years. Now, they say he's going to be, I've seen somewhere that he's going to be deported, but if they have him on a sex offenders register for 10 years, it looks like they are preparing the ground for him to stay here. Why should we have this man in our country right now? Okay, and I'm going to be talking about The Canary, a left-wing online magazine come organisation that fights for, human rights. Human rights, of course, not including the good ladies of Epping, where the Bell Hotel is situated. All right, I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video. I know the subject is distasteful, but I do hope I'm treating it in a way that is informative for you. Please like the video, please share it if you feel it can be shared, and subscribe to my channel. I don't know whether you've noticed, but my channel numbers have stayed more or less stable. They go up and then they go down again, and then they go up again and then they go down again. It looks like YouTube is sort of bottlenecking my subscribers. Maybe I'm paranoid, but then you have to be paranoid when you're living in this society right now. Okay, and if you want to contribute financially to my channel, that's very nice. Don't hurt yourself, as I said, but it does help me. All right, let's get on with this story, not specifically about Hadush Kebatu, but he does provide a focus. So this is how The Canary treats the story. One crime, a whole community. The Essex asylum seeker case is being weaponised by the far right. All right, so we've got an idea of where The Canary stands right now in the use of this far right, the go-to expression for anyone who has any reasonable objections. Oh, I've got a phone call. Okay, yeah. Busy day since I got back from visiting my kids. All sorts of people who knew I'd be away are now ringing me up and organising things. Okay, so let's just look at what the Canary is. So we've got some sort of a background. The Canary, it says here, I'm asking Grok this, based on the query, the Canary most likely refers to a UK-based online alternative media outlet and news organisation founded in 2015. It positions itself as a progressive, issue-driven platform focused on social justice, equal rights and countering mainstream conservative media narratives. It was launched in 2015 by Kerry Ann Mendoza, so I was just a little bit curious about who Kerry Ann Mendoza is. And Grok tells me she's a prominent English writer, journalist, blogger and activist known for her left-wing commentary on politics, economics and social justice. Whenever I don't mind people talking about issues that we have here in this country, some of which are issues of great injustice. I'm talking about legal injustice, but when they start talking about fighting for social justice, I get a bit suspicious. She's built a career challenging neoliberal policies and mainstream media narratives, particularly during the Jeremy Corbyn era in UK Labour politics. From that, I assume she was on the side of Jeremy Corbyn and argued against the mainstream opinion of Jeremy Corbyn, which was that he's a dangerous man. Mendoza is openly queer, whatever that means, and entered a civil partnership with Nancy Mendoza in 2010. So that's Kerry Ann Mendoza, and you have some sort of an idea of the general background of her opinions. I don't know how much control she has over the Canary now, but that is the atmosphere of the Canary. So when it says one crime, a whole community, and this one particular case is defining all of the migrants, this is a typical sort. This reminds me of the idea that you shouldn't believe your lying eyes, and you should just accept what they say. It says here, a court in Essex convicted a man, an asylum seeker. So they use a man just to tell you he's a human being, of course, to remind you, because obviously the far right don't recognise the humanity of some people. An asylum seeker of sexual assault this month. The crime is serious and justice demands accountability. But within hours, commentators, headlines and politicians were already turning the Essex asylum seeker case into a weapon. No, they were talking, well, some of them might be, but most people, including me, if I were to talk about it, would point out that this is by no means an isolated occurrence. Instead of discussing one individual, they used it to smear all asylum seekers. Consequently, the focus shifted away from justice and towards collective blame. No, not collective blame, collective suspicion, because asylum seekers are quite commonly found with their hands in the till, or rather in women's knickers, if they can get them there. She quotes this: "The feral illegal immigrant who sexually assaulted and attempted to groom a child, 12 months in prison," this person says. Lucy Connolly, who posted a furious message in the wake of the savage murders of 3 little girls in Southport, got 31 months in prison. I keep bringing Lucy Connolly up because it is an example of the egregious misuse of the British justice system, and this person is making that same point, so I agree with her. If indeed the chameleon is a woman and not just an icon there. And then the Canary quotes that word, feral. The feral illegal immigrant. That single word is doing a lot of work. It reduces people to wild, uncontrollable creatures. And this is your typical example of someone on the left who doesn't understand English. Feral, I decided to back up my knowledge of what the word feral means with the Collins English Dictionary. Feral. Feral animals are wild animals that are not owned or controlled by anyone, especially ones that belong to species which are normally owned and kept by people. So you get feral cats, for instance. They are the sons and daughters of domestic cats that have somehow got into the wild and who have been brought up in the wild. So they're reverting somewhat to their wild natures, although not completely. If you describe something or someone as feral, so they are pointing out that the word feral does not only apply to animals. If you describe something or someone as feral, you mean they seem wild, fierce, and uncontrolled. So feral simply means something that should be under control, something that should be civilised and is not acting that way. So it doesn't reduce people to wild, uncontrollable creatures. It reduces them to criminals, which is what they are. It frames asylum seekers not as human beings, but as a dangerous pack. Well, in many cases, they do act as a dangerous pack, but it's not talking about all asylum seekers. What people are saying is there are enough of these feral elements among the asylum seekers for us to be aware that they could be dangerous. The tweet sets the tone for the rest of the scapegoating spiral. And then they quote John Moore, who says these animals should have been arrested on arrival. And don't do that. These animals should have been arrested on arrival. And here he did, this John Moore, whoever he or she is referring to this person as an animal. And yeah, you can find people who will say that. And I have frequently talked about other situations and refused to use the word animal about such people because animals don't act like that. And I suppose the Canary would consider me on the far right. And the article does say the asylum seekers are not even people, they're animals.
Here, asylum seekers are...
I'm sorry, what happened was it started talking to me and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. So I shut down Safari and now I'm having to find my way back. But yeah, they make the point that here asylum seekers are not even people, they're animals. Yeah, well, I would disagree with calling such a person animal, but calling him feral is actually a description of him because he's supposed to act civilised and he's not acting civilised, is he? It says this is more than outrage. It fuses sexist panic, young girls, anti-Muslim hate, barbaric Islamic. It doesn't do any of that stuff. What it does is people are now talking about the sort of numbers that migrants of this sort represent when it comes to crimes against the person. Now, I'm just going to have to find those Twitter pages again because I made some inquiries of Grok about this. I'll just go back and see if I can re-find the figures I'd got. Okay, well, I found this. So, official UK government sources, such as the Office for National Statistics and the Ministry of Justice, do not routinely publish comprehensive statistics on sexual crimes. This is because their focus is primarily on victims of crime, not cross-tabulated by migration background. Do you think that they're really that bothered about the victims of the crime? All right, key figures. Foreign nationals in sexual offence convictions. So here we're talking about all foreign nationals, I'm assuming some of which might have come here quite legally. 15% of all sexual offence convictions are from foreign nationals, including unknown nationalities. Foreign nationals are 16% of the population, 2.24 times higher than British for sexual assault on females. This excludes unreported cases, rape convictions by foreign nationals. Based on 1,118 convictions, Afghan nationals estimated at 3 times, not 22 times, 3 times the UK-born rate per Sky News analysis using annual population survey data. The figures are very scattered about, but I think we can see from this there does seem to be a trend of migrants who are attacking women that they can get their hands on. Now, as I said, this should not be a surprise. These men are, at the very least, the most aggressive in their societies. They would have to be to make it all the way to Britain. They are probably not very nice people, self-selecting. So it says here the Metropolitan Police dispute some figures cited by politicians like Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage. The 40% claim was debunked as it misinterprets proceeded against data and undercounts migrant population growth. But then you see, we see a lot of instances where migrants are misbehaving and do not get prosecuted. For instance, there was one well-known example in Canary Wharf where a migrant wandered into a blind woman's house. She was, as I understand it, an elderly woman, and he wandered in. Now, we don't know what he wandered in for, and we don't know what he would have done had he not encountered this lady's daughter or granddaughter, who chased him out with a kitchen knife, I believe, and then apparently got arrested for having the kitchen knife in her possession, but I'm not sure of the details of that. I don't know what happened to her either. But this young man, or whoever he was then taken by the police back to the migrant hotel whence he came, and that he will not appear on any of the records, will he? So we don't know how many of these situations have just slipped past the statistics. It says here, higher conviction rates for some groups, e.g. Afghans, may stem from demographics. 70% of small boat arrivals are young males. Give Grok a cigar. Of course it's because of that. That's the problem. It's these sort of young males who strike out and cross continents, who are most likely to act in this way, obviously. And the general gist is that you have publications like the Canary who are telling you that your normal feelings of self-preservation are a symptom of you being on the far right. And my advice to you is not to take any notice of the Canary. It's sort of ironic because the Canary is supposed to warn you of fire damp, the gas in a mine that will kill you. And the Canary finds that out and warns you by dying, mostly. So in this case, it's completely the other way round. We are walking into the fire damp. The Canary is behind us tweeting, "Don't take any notice of it, nothing to see here, proceed." All right, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.